Oh, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, global population, Sam Fisher here. Right. We're going to talk about something that I've talked about a few times. It still doesn't seem to have gone away. For Q's sake. So, regular viewers of this channel will be very aware of my opinion of Q, but it still seems to be rearing its ugly head. For those of you who don't know, Q was started by two guys in 2017 after multiple attempts of trying over and over and over again. One of those was a hacker by the name of Microchip. That's all we know about him, unfortunately. And another guy called Thomas Schoenberger. Now, both of these men were responsible for a ARG in 2012-ish called Cicada 3301, which to this day is still unsolved. An ARG is an augmented reality game or an actual reality game. It's basically a puzzle game woven into real life. Anyway, these kind of things make people smart or feel smart. The people that do them usually are smart. It seems that they may have seen an opportunity to create another one when the WikiLeaks emails came out. And they designed this around a government whistleblower who had a security clearance of Q, which is where the Q name comes from. Now, before this, they tried FBI and on White House and on CIA and on DIA and on blah, 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 blah. List goes on, but Q stuck. And I think it was just the timing of it all, really, which is why it stuck, and the subject matter that it was using. Basically, Q posts to 4chan or 8chan, as it became known after a bit. We'll get to that. He posts sort of cryptic sort of messages, yeah. They're like a puzzle within a puzzle, using stenography and all sorts of other things, all sorts of things that make people really feel intelligent. Now, like I said, Microchip and Schoenberger designed this as a game. That's what it was meant to be, a game. And the thing with augmented reality games is you've got to make them seem realistic, so it immerses you, but not too realistic, so you begin to think it's real. Yeah. Unfortunately, it seems he overdid it with Q, because people were beginning to think it was real, and it was exploding. And this worried Microchip. It worried him enough to the point where he decided he was going to let it go. So he went onto Discord to do his usual Q deciphering sort of live stream that he would normally do. And accidentally live streamed himself writing out a full Q post with all the relevant codes and everything else, putting in the passwords, the username or whatever it is that you put into 4chan, and then uploading it. And then he began his deciphering stream. And he was hoping that the people who saw that first part of the live stream, and there was quite a few, would take it on board and go tell everyone else, oh my God, Q is fake. But that's not how things turned out. Instead, the people that watched it got together and took it off his hands and continued it. After a while, some of those people left the group that they were in, and others joined. Others like Jerome Corsi, David Wilcock. They added more and more and more to it. It wasn't until the main sort of one of the main two that were left out of who'd stolen it off Microchip was running off to Tijuana because he was getting done by the IRS for massive tax fraud, for funneling everybody's Q money through his church so they didn't have to pay tax. It wasn't until then that everyone left and it went dark for a long, long time. Then came back under a different guise, still with Praying Medic, but he was just taking on other people. Now, many of you are going, what's the point in doing that? Well, it makes massive amounts of money for them, not just in advertising revenue, but in donations that people give them. They turned it into a cash cow. They really did. Turned out Praying Medic owed hundreds and hundreds of thousands in unpaid taxes to the IRS. We should show how much money they were actually making, and they were making millions. But this is what it's always been, always has been. The information that's inside it and that was used was taken directly from the WikiLeaks emails, the Clinton emails, or WikiLeaks in general. None of what Q came out with was revelatory or not already known or not researched far better before. So Q already had a stigma over it. And then the intelligence services got wind of it. Now, it's not a psyop as such, it's Q. Let's just get this straight. It is and always has been a way of making money. You could call it a scam, if you will. It's not really scamming the viewers or the Q followers, it's more scamming the corporations out of their advertising revenue and everything else. I think that's the way they look at it. In either case, the intelligence services noticed the stigma that was already over Q, and how even people in the truth movement would avoid whatever they were looking into, and began to use their operatives, making them sort of QAnons, as they call them, Anons, sorry. They were using them to steer the Q following in a certain way and put the Q banner onto certain aspects of the Q movement that were problematic. So things like satanic ritual abuse, child and human trafficking, even the anti-vax movement. They basically got the Q banner painted over that with absolute garbage, and not only did it put a lot of the sort of new to the truth movement people off after they learnt what Q was like, it also put the wider public off. I mean, these things were gaining a lot of traction, and it set them back years. They undid a heck of a lot of hard work. Hard work of people like Ted Gunderson or Bill Cooper, John Maxwell, all of us in general. Now, don't get me wrong, there are good sides to the Q movement. One minute.
The next day,
I thought of one. They wake people up. And then they draw them into a cult that's almost as bad, if not worse, than the actual brainwashing cult that they've just come from. You see, this is a problem with the Q movement. It shows very cult-like tendencies, yeah? Has all the hallmarks, psychological hallmarks of a cult. You can't question Q. You can't disbelieve Q, yeah? Or else the attack dogs, the zealous ones at the top, will get you. And this is why I call them Q-ling monks, because they are. But they're worse than the brainwashed masses, because these people believe they're awake when they're not. So why am I going on about Q again? Because I still see it. I still see its infective, cancerous sort of presence within our movement. And it's deliberately trying to foist itself again onto aspects of the alternative research sphere that they have no business looking into, because they believe the garbage, the fictionalised garbage. Yeah? Yes, human trafficking is real. No, there aren't bases full of children everywhere. Yeah, no one's going out rescuing them. Yeah, Tim Ballard did, but he even says himself, no, I'm nothing to do with that. Yeah. Yes, there is satanic ritual abuse. No, it's not in the way that Q portrays it. There are no white hats, yeah, in the way that they think there are. Donald Trump isn't going to save you. He's not your saviour. There's so much that Q takes hold of and destroys just by the sensationalism that it adds to already sort of bizarre subjects in and of themselves. It's a pox. And the minute you try and point out these problems to someone who's heavily invested in Q, they won't have it. They won't have it. Well, you're nothing but a disinfo agent. Well, yeah. Well, fuck you then. Fine. But you're the biggest disinfo agent because you're passing around garbage. You could tell me all your Q theories and I could debunk every single one of them and show the actual thing that it came from. And give you far better and far cleaner, far more accurate information. But none of you are interested in that because it's not as appealing to your mindset. And that's the other problem with Q. This is why it sensationalises things so much. Why it uses cryptographic and subliminal messaging inside its text or its pictures and everything else. These are techniques that were developed by Edward Bernays and Joseph Goebbels. Yeah? So, I mean, it's very easy to find these kind of things. It uses neuro-linguistic programming. It uses manipulation techniques, all sorts, just to get you invested. And this is all coming from someone who's sloppy as hell if they're part of the secret, if they're part of the intelligence service, by the way that they do all these things. From an anonymous source that tells you not to trust anonymous sources. And from someone with a security clearance that's used by the Department of Energy for maintenance workers and other contract workers in nuclear power stations. That's what Q clearance is. It's a civilian security clearance. Now, don't get me wrong, the Department of Energy is a sort of very overlooked, very powerful governmental organisation, intelligence service. Oh, it is. It's probably got the largest untapped UFO file there is. If you look at the amount of universities and what they do, yeah, and the labs under the umbrella of the Department of Energy and the Atomic Energy Commission, some things they have no business in looking into. They also have a permanent seat on FEMA, the FEMA committee. Anyway, it's beside the point. So yeah, because of what's going on with Trump now, Q is starting to get more traction again. I've noticed that a lot. There's more of them turning up. The thing is, 90% of these Q content creators are intelligence. But it's still running under creative pretty minute. Believe me. As for what to do with them, there's not what we can do. The only thing we can do, essentially, is just keep talking to them. Keep showing them where they're going wrong. Real information. But lately I've been getting very frustrated at them. Especially when they're talking about Nessara and Gesara. Look into how that started. That's been going around since the early 60s. Late 50s, early 60s. And it keeps popping up. It keeps getting debunked every time. You read it, it reads like socialism, because that's what it is. Try telling him that. Fucking idiots. But this is another thing I keep seeing cropping up with them. And it may or may not have anything to do with Q. I don't know. But it seems to be mainly Q followers that are espousing it. Which drives me demented. Another thing. I'm going to leave some links down in the description below to a couple of channels. One of them is M Seeker of Truth, who's done some amazing work on Simon Parkes and Charlie Ward, and that'll give you an idea of why the Q movement is so full of crap. Just looking at them two. The other one is a guy called Unirock, and he's done some excellent videos on the beginnings of Q and where it came from. Truly brilliant work. He needs a big following, that guy really does. Anyway, yeah. So there we are. That's my mind diarrhea for today. So, if you like what you've seen, like, share, subscribe. You know the drill. I'll see you later.